Continuing my double feature, we got Black Christmas. I've never seen the remake or the reboot slash remake that came out in 2019 or the fuck it was. I've never seen those two. Seen reviews, obviously. Never seen those two though, so yeah, I have no opinions on them. But this movie is fucking awesome.
X, don't you tell what we did, X. X. X.
What's kind of funny about this movie too is that this movie's directed by Bob Clark, and if you guys might recognize that name, that's because Bob Clark also directed 10 years later after this A Christmas Story. So two completely different Christmas movies, but directed both of them. Starting off with the positives for Black Christmas though, this movie's atmosphere is just horrifying. I think that this movie, it really does, it has this gritty, almost documentary style sense, the camera being held and the way that the shots are being taken. Everything does feel claustrophobic, feels close up. And you do get this, the Michael Myers type eye view or something like that. You do get that, just the first person perspective of the camera walking around, and it is just Billy, but it's his eyesight. And that's really, it's good filmmaking. Starting off with the positives for Black Christmas, though, this movie has an atmosphere that is completely bone-chilling. It really does give you that cold Christmas vibe, but it gives you that it's alone. Like how snow, like if you see out in a field of snow, you'd be alone and stranded. That's how this movie makes you feel at points. This movie has a horrifying villain with Billy. And the way that the film is just shot up, that it's in this documentary style, almost like how everything feels very intrusive. Like the camera's just there, someone's holding it and just watching this group, and then you get a lot of close-ups, a lot of these shots where it's just it's Billy's point of view where he's walking around, he's climbing up the house, something like that, and they always feel very claustrophobic. The movie it does give this off-putting sense to it throughout the entire film, and something that I really think helps the vibe of the movie. It really draws me into it every single time I watch it, and this is a movie that I watch every Christmas year. I love this movie. And part of the reason why I love this movie so much is that its main killer, Billy, is so goddamn compelling. My favorite horror villains, especially slasher villains, are the ones that can talk. Freddy, Chucky, those two are hands down two of my favorite. And even though I'm not the biggest fan of Candyman or of Pinhead, I'm very interested and very intrigued by the way they talk. It's very poetic, it feels otherworldly, and those really draw me in. Even the two movies that I have a hard time kind of enjoying just on my own. Billy, though, his speech play is different. It's not otherworldly, it's not funny, it's not sarcastic. It's creepy. It's downright psychotic. It's one of the best parts of this movie is that Billy is constantly on the phone, and he's constantly calling these sorority girls, and throughout the movie, he is making it worse and worse throughout these phone calls, and he's doing it while he's killing them one by one.
Hello? Hello? Who is this?
The movie basically starts with just Billy creeping his way into the house, his point of view of him climbing the house and getting his way in, and then during this kind of like Christmas party type thing, they get a phone call. It's the sorority girls having their own type of before they go away for the holidays, they're all drinking, having fun together, opening presents, and Billy gives them a phone call within the first 10 minutes, and this movie has no fat to it, just gets right into it.
You big cunt. You big cunt. You big cunt.
Lick it.
This first phone call is really off-putting. It really sets the tone for the rest of the movie, and it really also shows how Billy acts throughout these. We don't ever hear Billy talk when he's with the other girls. He doesn't actually do any of that. But when he's on the phone call and we can't see his face, he has no problem letting his voice out. And there he changes his voice throughout it. And the speech play that Billy does, it is so creative and crazy and psychotic. You get him mimicking himself, or is it screechy, insane voice, while he also has his high-pitched motherly voice, so asking, what'd you do with the baby? That type of thing, where it's horrible on the ears. Probably didn't sound good with me doing it either, and that's how he talks, is on the phone, and, he'll mimic this baby that's crying, and it does give you this story that Billy's probably in the mental asylum for killing his baby sister. That's probably what the thing is. Even at one point, Billy mimics a cat crying and meowing just to get the head of the sorority house up into the attic to be able to murder her. So Billy has no problem mimicking people or animals to try to lure them into a one-on-one situation as to get a hold of them, which is also interesting on that part of an aspect.
Claude? Is that you, Puss? Kitty? Who is that?
And I love how Billy gets a little moment in this movie, a little moment of privacy where he gets to express himself, just like Michael does when he stabs Bob and tilts his head, or Leatherface, he's kind of freaking out by himself, and all these people come into his house, just kind of killing them. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And Billy has the same moment when the person he lured up with the cat meows, they were waiting for a cab, and the cab was waiting outside for them to come outside so they can, drive to the airport where the fuck they're going. And the cabbie, goes to the door, knocks, no one answers the door, because obviously the woman's dead at this point. Cabbie says, fuck this house, gets into the cab, and then drives off. And right when he drives off and that car, is out of the house view, Billy starts rocking this chair that has a dead body in it. He's screaming. He's kind of wailing like you would imagine a monkey that's going crazy. And that's just he is having so much fun. But he's psychotic. This dude is dangerous. And it's something that this little moment is way different than Michael or Leatherface ever react. He is completely off the rails. And if it seems like I'm focusing on Billy a lot, it's because I am. He's my favorite part of the movie, and he's what keeps me coming back every single Christmas season to watch this movie, just to watch him inflict this horrifying act he puts upon these sorority girls. And the first phone call with Billy is what really draws me in, and I'm sure it will draw anybody in. And it starts off with, so many complexities. He has this mimicking voice where he's doing it all screechy. He's trying to freak the girls out. He's saying some very, very sexually explicit stuff. It's 100% sexual harassment over the phone. And he's pretty much implying that he's going to rape them. But it's not only till the end of the phone call that becomes the most chilling part.
Oh, why don't you go find a wall socket and stick your tongue in it? That'll give you a charge.
I'll stick my tongue up your pretty pussy.
You fucking creep!
I'm going to kill you.
Just Billy, this one time using his normal voice to say, I'm gonna kill you all. And with all seriousness, that is the part that's oh fuck, these girls are screwed. That's the start of the incitement. So when he says, I'm gonna kill you all, that's it. That's the trajectory of where the film's going. And it's horrible that it happens to all these girls. They're all very likable, but it's what happens. And the girls in this film are likable. Jessica is our final girl. She's Billy's wife, Bill's wife inside the It miniseries from 1990. And, she's playing, it's very controversial topic to this day, but she's playing a very strong, more woman character where she's taking action in her own life and making her own decisions. And with this, she's having an abortion. Her boyfriend Peter got her pregnant, and even though he wants to keep the baby and get married, she doesn't want to get married yet, and not only that, but she doesn't want to keep the baby. She has more stuff that she wants to do, and she needs to be able to actually do those. She doesn't want to feel tied down in life because of a kid that she had, pretty much prematurely.
And I told you about some of the things that I wanted to do. I still want to do those things. You can't ask me to drop everything I've been working for and give up all my ambitions because your plans have changed.
So with that also sets off that Peter becomes a suspect. All the side characters, all the main characters in this movie are really good. Peter becomes this very angry suspect who obviously has motive for why he'd be trying to kill all the girls and also trying to kill Jessica because, she was trying to kill his baby pretty much. That was what the motive would be there. And all the girls at the sorority house are really fun. They're just normal college girls that don't deserve what happened to them. One of them's Margot Kidder. She's kind of a douche. She's very angry. She's drunk throughout the movie. But that's because she's apparently mean or a little bit of a... She treats one of the girls in the sorority house like an outcast. And that person is the first person to leave the sorority party and is also the first victim of Billy. And because everybody knows that there is a psychomaniac who just escaped a mental asylum, and there's already been one body that's been racked up in the park of a 13-year-old girl, which we know Billy pretty much killed. It's presumed. Everybody assumes that now that this girl's missing, Billy must have also gotten her. Which they're right, but Margot Kidder blames herself and also thinks everybody else blames her, so it makes her an angry drunk throughout the film. She's probably the most unlikable character, but she has her moments. She has some really fun moments, like when they're at the police station, she tricks the cop into thinking that they live on, like, Fellatio Road. It's like a new extension or something like that.
Fellatio 20880. Fellatio. It's a new exchange. FE.
And the first girl that's a victim, her dad is actually, he comes to the sorority house to come pick her up. He goes to the train station at first, but she doesn't show up. And then he goes all the way to the sorority house, and he's trying his best to just figure out where his daughter's at. He ends up going to the search party. He sees the dead 13-year-old girl. It's off screen, but he sees it, and he's completely horrified by it, and pretty much kind of knows that his daughter might have, suffered the same fate. But he has a great moment when he's first going down the sorority house, and head of the sorority house, the alcoholic girl, she's taken around the room, and he's just not very pleased. But it's a very good gag setup where you have this very loose, sexually proactive house mother who's also a drunk, who's trying to act like she's a very responsible woman, and that this sorority house isn't just filled with, random girls drinking and having sex all the time, which it is, but...
I'm very disappointed in this atmosphere. I intend to do something about it. Who's this?
And my last main positive is how this film ends. Jessica gets told the classic, the killer is calling from inside the house, because throughout the entire time, they don't actually know that Billy's in the house. They just think that the calls are coming from some random stalker somewhere else. But Jessica gets told the calls are coming from inside the house, and immediately Billy comes to strike at her, and you never actually see Billy's face, which is the cool part about this. You don't ever see what he looks like. You see his eye at one point or everything like that, but you never actually see him. But, Billy is trying to grab Jessica. She's running away. She's scared. And then she ends up locking herself in the basement when she gets away, and Billy is trying to break down the door, yada yada. He can't get in. But at one point, Peter ends up, Billy runs away, and then Peter comes up, and Peter, ends up getting killed. He gets killed by Jessica in self-defense, because she believes that he is Billy. But he's not, even though he is kind of a crazy guy, but he's not Billy. The point of this is that Jessica, the police, and everybody think that the killer's dead. So after the police, say the house is safe, they go ahead and put Jessica into her bed, tell her goodnight, and they leave the house. But we know that they checked every room but the attic, and that's where Billy's been hiding all the bodies, and that's where Billy's at.
Agnes, it's me, Billy.
The film ends with Billy being in the house with Jessica, and even though she hasn't died yet, she basically might as well be, because no one's there to help her once he comes down there to strike. This film does not leave on a happy ending, and I have no problem with that when it comes to my horror movies. They're not supposed to leave on happy endings all the time. But the ending of this, too, might also remind you to the ending of Halloween, which Halloween came out 4 years after this film, with, just outward shots of a house with it seeming empty, with the killer being gone, nowhere in sight, and he's still on the loose, getting that type of vibe. But this film has a lot more parallels because John Carpenter actually wanted to make a sequel to Black Christmas. That was his original plan. The studio told him no, so that's why he made Halloween, a holiday slasher. Both films open up with Billy and Michael going into a house and a point of view shot, and both Michael and Billy escaped a mental asylum in their mid-20s after killing their sisters when they were young. Billy just killed his baby sister while Michael killed his older one. Now, I do have two negatives for the film. So the first one being that I know this is 1974, and I actually find that part of the charm of the film is that there is not a lot of gore. I don't need to see a 13-year-old dead in the snowfields or anything like that, but I do wish that I could see just a little bit of gore. There is basically none. There's a lot of stabbings. One of, I guess, the most graphic kill is the first kill when the girl is suffocated by like a plastic bag you put over her dress or something like that. But that is pretty much the goriest one you get, and it's not gory, it's just more graphic.
Who is it?
And my only other negative, and this one's going to sound kind of weird because I just praised the ending, but it's also the ending of the film. it's only kind of like a nitpicking part where it's like my suspension of disbelief kind of gets broken, where the police, you know, played by the Lieutenant, main one, played by John Saxon, which you'll notice from Nightmare on Elm Street, but the police, they all just say, like, hey, the house is clear because they didn't check the attic, and they're like, you killed Peter, so the killer's dead, so go ahead and just sleep in this house. Obviously there must have been other dead bodies there, because there must be blood, at least in Margot Kidder's room, there must have been blood in there. So it's just like, hey, sleep in this house, though. Like, it still must be a crime scene. Maybe because there was no bodies found, it wasn't a crime scene. But there had to have been blood in Margot Kidder's room because he stabbed her with a glass unicorn with the horn of it and everything like that. So there must have been blood. But I don't know. Maybe Billy hid the bed sheets too. I don't fucking know. Maybe he took them out in the attic as well. But yeah, other than that, it's just like I like the ending. I like the fact that Billy's still in the house with Jessica. I also just think it's odd that the police would leave this active crime scene with Jessica sleeping in it. Overall, though, this movie is creepy as fuck. This is a horror film, especially if you haven't seen it and you love slashers, you need to get onto it. This is a great classic to watch every Christmas, but it's just a great slasher in general with a really creepy slasher villain. Alright, everybody. Well, thank you for watching. Check out the Die Hard review if you haven't, and the Gremlins one before. And of course, American Beauty Part 2.5 is up, so make sure you give that one a watch too. Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you for watching.